Japanese sitting order in Europe can create a problem. So welcome back to this podcast of cross-cultural case studies. Today we are having Japanese visitors in Europe who come to a Czech office. It is a Japanese company and they've got offices in Europe, so they frequently travel. And the author, who's Czech, tells us about a situation that kept on happening. And somehow it took a long time for participants to understand what was happening. It was very simple. You're having meetings organized. And, when you've got meetings, you book some meeting rooms. The first comes, they sit. And then, you sit a little bit far away so that the latecomers, they can quickly sit. And each time it would actually create problems with the Japanese guest who would arrive and find actually some seats already occupied and would sit near the door. And it took a long time for the Czech host to understand that that was a problem, because in Japanese tradition, we actually have a very strict seating order where the most senior manager sits the furthest away from the door, and the junior members will sit by the door, according to some explanation, historical explanation. In case of a attack from some opponents, you would have the junior who would shield the senior commander and be able to escape the ambush. So there is this sort of protocol that is semi-historical, but at the end has become a habit of where people sit. In the Czech, there's not really a strict sitting order. Eventually, you're going to have the manager who will sit in the middle or where everybody can hear them, or somebody might sit at that place and even joke like, oh, today I'm taking the boss's seat. So what can we say about this simple case of seating order? Because culturally speaking, it's a big deal, all right? So it tells us several things. Well, first of all, it's different folkways, all right? We do things differently in different cultures. Well, there's not much more to say about that, where we sit and so on. All right, that's an easy thing. But deeper than that, we can look at the differences of power distance, all right? Japan is a hierarchical culture. And so the respect for authority and seniority is much greater than in Czechia. Czechia is also relatively hierarchical, but less comparatively with Japan. And so one of the ways this hierarchy is being validated is through the seating order. You show your hierarchy, your hierarchical position, the way you sit, all right? And so that sends actually a message to the rest of the group. And so that brings us to the second topic, which is high versus low context cultures. High context cultures communicate a lot through hidden messages, all right, between the lines, hints, background information, whereas low context cultures are a lot more content orientated. So the Czech here are more low context. So they will take things a little bit more literally compared with the Japanese that have a very complex manner of communicating. So back to the seating order. The way where you sit in a high context culture means something. It tells about your ranking order. And so if you know the protocol, aka the culture, you understand that this gentleman who's sitting the furthest from the door is the senior participant in the meeting. And so the way you're going to talk to that person will be influenced by that. You will not address this person the same way. Your body language will be very different. You will be a lot more careful to what you say compared to the discussion you're going to have with a junior member, the one who sits by the door. So we're sending here a hidden message through the seating order. But of course, for the European, there is not such, clear protocol about seating. It's more egalitarian and more low context. Eventually, we're going to have some tags, name tags on the tables where it's very straightforward. You sit where your name is, all right? So very, very low context. Now, I'm not saying this is not important. Depending on the situation, this complexity might reappear. Anybody who organized a wedding and needs to do what we call in French a plan de table, so some setup where to sit, is a headache often because we know that susceptibilities is going to play. Do we get the auntie next to the young cousin, or do we get the good jolly friends next to the grumpy cousins and so on? Same story, different context, different behavior, depending on where we sit. So whether it's business, whether it is dinner tables, the way we sit sometimes can reveal more than actually that meets the eyes. So I don't know what's your experience. Did you experience sometimes some sort of misunderstandings or a problem because of where you sat or others sat? Please share with me your own experience down in the comments. I'll be very glad reading them. And if you want to know more about this case and other cases, well, I'm inviting you to get yourself a copy of my latest book, 199 Cross-Cultural Case Studies. It's available online. The link is below. You can get an ebook if you want, or a printed version. I personally always prefer paper, can write some notes and so on. And I'll be glad to get your feedback about that. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope you liked it. Have a good day.